possible the Cowboys are serious about trying to win something and build a good offensive line for Dak Prescott to play behind this year. Todd Archer tweeting about an hour ago that veteran offensive tackle Jason Peters is scheduled to visit with the Cowboys. Started 15 games last year. He's 40 years old. But your guy Broadus, former Cowboys scout, his sources have been telling you this is the one free agent tackle left on the market who could actually play pretty good probably.
Yeah, and I had an opportunity to visit with some guys over at the Cowboys today, and they were talking about continually trying to find an answer there at tackle. They're totally okay with what's going on with Tyler Smith. Do they miss Tyron Smith? Absolutely. Nobody wants to see Tyron Smith out of this lineup. But, they feel comfortable with Tyler Smith, but they know they need to get some help behind that. They know they need to get some veteran help. And Gang of Seven has been talking about Jason Peters as that guy. We've thrown a bunch of names. Leatherwood got claimed by the Chicago Bears. We talked about him a bunch yesterday. We've talked about Eric Fisher. The Gang of Seven kind of feels like that Eric Fisher is at the end of that. But the one guy that the Gang of Seven was somewhat positive about was, hey, take a look at Jason Peters. And the fact that longtime Philadelphia Eagle, he's had some injury history. He's 40 years old, but Gang of Seven felt like that he still had a little left in the tank. And I think that's what Will McClay and those guys they're going to take a peek here. And, with the way these practice squad rules are, guys, now, if he comes in here, he passes a physical, everything's cool, you could put him on the practice squad, even 40 years old, and then, elevate him like we've seen what they're going to do with their quarterbacks and stuff like that.
Well, it seems like a no-brainer to me. I'm glad they are looking into this dude right now. And, I mean, he's going to come so cheap, and he wants to he definitely wants to play. Like back in July, he says, I don't have a time frame. Whenever the opportunity comes, I'm going to give it one more run at it, try to get me another ring, or pass on some knowledge to some of the young kids up and coming. But he says he doesn't have a time frame. Last year, it was like 3 weeks into training camp before he signed, so he's used to doing this kind of thing, getting acclimated quickly. But the idea that he's also kind of excited at 40 years old to kind of invest in somebody, who's that somebody? That's going to be Tyler Smith. And hell, even Josh Ball and Willetsko and all these other guys they're trying to develop. So that's an added bonus. And then you look at Pro Football Focus, which I know we kind of take them with a grain of salt. It's not the Bible, but they graded him out fairly well last year. Certainly the best lineman that the Bears had. So he's absolutely got something.
Well, Brian's Gang of Seven, if you're kind of new to the show, that's his most trusted front office guys around the league. And when you get consensus from that gang, you can take it to the bank, So Jason Peters, obviously the former Eagle, last year was still healthy enough to play the majority of the season, I believe, for the Bears.
He was, yeah.
And this would be a good move. Now, it's not like he'd be able to come in and play right away. He's not going to be a savior. Do they? And would he be more depth behind Tyler Smith unless Smith messes up?
Yeah.
How would they look at that?
I think, like I mentioned, you could put him on your practice squad this week, like I said, with all being with the way the practice squad rules are now, and that would keep you from having to sign him. You could sign him after week one, and then all that money becomes guaranteed. So there's some ways, again, roster manipulation that they're going to be able to do. But
could he play both tackles?
I've seen him primarily play the left side. I know they've tried to play him at some guard before. Right tackle. To me, this is more of a depth piece right now. I believe they're going to see what they have in Tyler Smith.
Yeah, okay. But you're one injury away from needing this guy. Whether it's maybe McGovern gets hurt and you're like, crap, what do we want to do? Do we want to put Tyler Smith back at guards and we'll put Jason Peters at left tackle?
Great point. Right.
So I think you're absolutely going to need him at some point, but you have the luxury of not having to just throw him in there week one.
Yeah, I think they always talk about those ramp up periods and stuff like that. If you could get Jason Peters in here and he doesn't have to start, I think that will just give him, you just got to buy him some time to let him get ready, let him get reacclimated to NFL again. And, it's not going to take too long for him. But I think this is not as to sign him to start. It's to sign him to have a backup, a competent backup piece behind Smith in case something does happen.
Honestly, I feel like when you're doing pros and cons of this, I can't really find a single con. I can't. It's cheap. It's not like it's an expensive thing you got to go get. If he doesn't play a single snap, okay. If he does, cool.
He's insurance.
Piece,
yeah,
he's insurance.
Yeah.
You have a guy who's done it before. If things hit the fan a little bit, And if Dak Prescott's dropping back to pass, you'd like to know you got somebody that you can halfway trust here. I don't know if you can say that about Ball and Willetsko, especially when the season starts to wear on you and you're playing with an offensive line that looks very scary.
So do you think if he does join the team that Ball or Willetsko find themselves looking for work, or what would be the domino that falls?
It'd be interesting to see. You never want to let go of offensive linemen, especially young ones. People will they'll say, listen, hey, look what Leatherwood was a first-round pick, and all those things we heard about Leatherwood. What do the Bears do? They claim him. They didn't want to pay the contract or anything, but they'll give somebody an opportunity.
Well, they still got to pay like $6 million, I think.
Yeah, I kind of feel like, though, that maybe that let's be honest. I think at linebacker, they've got a couple of those guys there that if they needed a spot, they're not going to let go of I don't think an offensive lineman to make this happen. I think it would be, maybe somebody on that defensive side of the ball where they have a lot of those bodies still over there.